scream. Skol and TuckNRoll. Chase the fire and dream. Light the fire's Valhalla. Watch it burn to the sky. Keep the flames ever burning. Let your spirit fly. Light the fires and kick the tires. Go with plug and fire. Never stop the fight. Keep the fires burning bright. Shadows dance on ancient walls. Laughter's echo rings. In the halls of heroes roar, where every legend sings. Through the storm and tempest, fearless we remain. With a heart of burning flame, we conquer every flame. Light the fires and kick the tires. Go with dragon fire. Never stop the fight. Keep the fires burning bright. Loki's mornings of mischief. Raise your voice high and scream. Skol and TuckNRoll. Chase the fire and dream. Light the fire Valhalla. Watch it burn to the sky. Keep the flames ever burning. Let your spirit fly. Light the fires and kick the tires. Go with dragon fire. Never stop the fight. Keep the fires burning bright. The storm and tempest, fearless we remain. With a heart of burning flame, we conquer every flame. Be great, be excellent to each other. Always speak friend to enter. Loki's mornings of mischief, like the fire's Valhalla. We remain. With a heart of burning flame, we conquer every plane. Be great, be excellent to each other. Always speak friend to enter. Loki's mornings of mischief, like the fire's Valhalla.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Taco Tuesday here on Mornings of Mischief. I'm your host, Stone Loki, and with me today is a wonderful guest. Let me welcome Meffistoe from Mephisto's Movie Reviews. Hail, sir. How are you doing? What is up?
I'm not worthy. Just quoting. I'm good. I'm actually good. Personal stuff aside, I'm pretty effing good. Like I said, I didn't tell you this, but like I'm putting all politics aside. I'm putting all like current events aside. I'm just here focusing on my own thing and on this thing actually, because the world outside is a little bit rough. So it's down to us to entertain the masses and just share our love for whatever we're going to talk about and leave the rest behind.
No, absolutely. And this morning we're going to be talking about 80s and 90s movies. Why are these the big two decades? Yeah, you've got some crazy stuff that happened later, but there was a lot of content. There was a lot of movies coming down the pipeline and a lot of really good movies, not just like one. Like right now, a lot of what we've seen over the last decade has been like comic book movie. The big hits are always comic book movies. But there were so many big hits in the 80s and the 90s that were comedies, drama, action, sci-fi, courtroom drama, subgenres, all over. You name it, they were doing it, and they were doing good. They were making hits. They were knocking them out of the park.
Yeah. You know what I kind of want to distill that into sort of, there's a couple of reasons. One, there was a willingness to give directors a chance to express themselves. Now, don't be mistaken. There were a lot of duds, which caused a lot of like small studios to crumble and fall and be done by the wayside. Whoever remembers like a small little studio called Carloco? Have you ever heard of
Carloco.
that? Like people forget. TriStar, like, do you remember, the Pegasus
The
horse?
Pegasus horse. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of still exists, but it's wrapped in with sort of bought by different corporations. So the brand is there, but it's a bit hollow, right? It's sort of used as maybe a production company or whatever, but not a studio per se. So a lot of these small studios kind of went away because they kind of invested into these, we'll call it ventures, not really projects, that a lot of them kind of keeled over and died. But they left behind some sort of a legacy, because some of these movies, and you've got one of them in that big thing that I don't know if you made it or Chris made it. Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank.
It's my favorite movie of all time. Like, it trumps everything that I've seen. It came out September 23rd, 1994, and it did not make its money back in the theaters. It definitely did not. I think it made like $6 million or something. After it came out in home video, it made gangbusters, to the point where I think it was Warner Brothers. They printed it like a lot of copies, but they were like chains from around the United States mainly. Like, we need more because people were renting this like crazy. Just make more. It's like, really? And they just made a ton of money, like a ton of money on that. And like I mentioned Carloco, but a few weeks back, I did finally got Culture Casino down for a show, because we've been talking for like 8 months to do a show about Showgirls, because it's sort of like, I don't know. He says it's his favorite movie. I think it's a sort of like his favorite guilty pleasure movie, which I'll get. I get that.
Hey, if you were a Saved by the Bell kid, that's me.
That's me too.
Meth. Then you saw that movie, because it was like, that was a big thing, was one of them getting a big role, and then you find out what kind of movie it is, and you're like, oh, that's even better. Jesse Spano as a Vegas showgirl. Okay, I can dig it.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is, that movie also eventually made money, but on home video, because everybody who couldn't get into the theater wanted to rent that movie to see Jesse Spano naked.
And there was a big thing with that too, Myth, was the director's cuts and the secret cuts, and there was so many like rumors that there was like an even riskier cut than the N17 cut, and there was all kinds of stuff going on about how there were multiple versions of the movie. That got people really interested in that whole director's cut scene.
I've seen it. Like, there are 2 extra cuts.
Oh yeah.
The one that is like the extra cut was actually an R-rated version for TV that they've made, because like, we also had on the show, we had like a Paul Verhoeven month, which is basically 80s, 90s. One of the things that kept popping up is the fact that he wanted to do, and I think you've been on with us with RoboCop, right?
Yeah, we did RoboCop.
Yeah, there's so much. One of the things that came up in all of these Verhoeven movies, that he wanted to push the envelope and make it an NC-17, not because it was an NC-17, because he wanted to sort of like explore the sexual part, the nudity part, and he had to curtail everything because of, they just couldn't do too many or NC-17 because of the money issue. In Showgirls, he did not have that limitation whatsoever. So it's like, oh, I'm making an NC-17 or I'm not signing off for this movie. And they said, well, fine. It's like, okay. So they made him do it. And then they cut the R-rated version for TV. So one of the version is R-rated. By the way, I've seen it. It's basically the same movie. And there's the ultimate cut that that I haven't seen for the show, but Culture Casino has it. I think Andre gave it to him. I had to find it somewhere.
Mhm.
And again, it's not a big deal. It's not like, oh, I've got Playboy, now I'm going to see the Hustler version, or I've got Penthouse, I'm going to see the Hustler version of the Penthouse girl that I've just seen.
Yep.
No, it's just extra stuff. It doesn't really contribute to anything, and you don't see more that you haven't seen. It's fine. You've seen deep enough into the canal, you're good.
What a way to put that, to put the exclamation point on Showgirls, is once you've seen deep enough into the canal already. So
yeah.
And that kind of killed her career too. That was it.
Yeah.
It was after that.
Done. She did like a small part. She was even naked in Any Given Sunday. So I think a bit part. She played like Al Pacino's hooker.
Yes.
Yes. It's
Yep.
like a small little part, and basically it.
The girl at the bar. Yeah, she's
was
the girl at the bar that talks to him that ends up being a hooker.
Do you know how much she was paid for Showgirls?
I have no idea.
$100,000. That's it. She killed her career for $100,000. It's a sad story. Like now, if you look at the Showgirls now, in certain areas has this sort of like Rocky Horror Picture Show kind of a vibe to it, but it's mostly in the gay community. And there she's like a goddess, right? It's like Madonna and her.
Good old Jessie Spano from
well,
Saved by the Bell.
They don't call her Jessie Spano. They actually call her whatever her name was.
But nobody remembers.
I don't even remember.
Jessie Spano.
Yeah, there's a so many different avenues, and I think it was, who was it? Project Storytime that mentioned Canon Films. Again, one of those companies that were like
instrumental for the 80s. Yeah.
And I give props because they all went the Roger Corman way of making films. It was just, you got a story, you have even a decent story, but the pacing is quick. You film it quick, and you're like, okay, so you've got a few effects and a few things that you can pull, but don't go deep into the weeds with this, and just make sure you just hammer those movies out. That was most of the 80s. But if you've got like a big production crew, that's where you get the like E.T., you get the Indiana Joneses, you get the Robert Zemeckis movies, that sort of a thing. If you got a big studio on top of it, but you also get movies that I particularly like. Let's say a movie from the 80s, Tom Cruise in Cocktail.
Dude, Cocktail never gets enough love. Coughlin's Law, my good lad.
I went back at like a few months, like Color of Money, a Scorsese movie. People forgot. It's a good movie. It's a solid movie. It's not like a banger, but there's a solid story in there. Like it went a little bit too long at some points, but fine. And it's just a good, solid story, and driven by good dialogue and good setups. And you've got like Tom Cruise, you've got Paul Newman, you've got Forrest Whitaker, and Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, which it's not the greatest actress in the world, but in that movie she rocks. Yeah. And he got a few of these along the way. And it's so crazy. He did Cocktail the same year that he did, oh, no, I forgot it, with Dustin Hoffman.
Rainmaker?
Rain Man.
Rain Man. It's
Rain
not
Man.
Rainmaker, it's Rain Man.
Same year. So they
15, 22, 30 times. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and that's a
Raymond, are you counting all those? Yeah, 447 toothpicks and only 142 of them are there. And he's like, you do that all the time? Let's go to Vegas.
Yeah, and there's a lot of a lot more freedom for directors, or at least the studios, even though we wanna think that they gave them like a lot of freedom, it was still back and forth. Maybe not like today, but there's no committee. There's a lot of notes. When it comes to the studio, you've got like notes and executive producers that are like, they're not artistic people, but you do have notes. There's only really a handful of directors that even in like 80s, even in the down to 90s and even start of 2000s, you couldn't really tell them what to do, but there were some concessions on the what they can actually do to not spend too much money, so the movie would be profitable, because they always thought about the profit, especially coming off of the 70s, where in the 70s you had a lot of really good films, but making a real profit on films is a handful of movies.
Do you think they've kind of lost that? Because it seems like it doesn't really matter whether a movie makes any money now or not, as long as the message is there. I don't want to drown out today with
movies.
that, but
look, do I think let's say a really new movie that made $1 billion+, Deadpool and Wolverine, do I think that they gave Ryan Reynolds a full carte blanche? I don't think so. I don't really think so. They had guidelines, and maybe they got like a broader guidelines, whatever he could negotiate. And trust me, the man sold like a cellular company that he built from scratch, and a gin company that he built from scratch. Do you not think he can negotiate like big money with Kevin Feige? I think he could. And he had guidelines, but not like, you can't break too much. Case in point, the chick from the Loki series was there, right? The fact that the TVA or whatever.
You mean Sylvie? Oh no, you mean the head of the TVA.
The head of the TVA.
She's in there for like a minute.
Yeah, but she's still a part of the story. The TVA is a part of the story. Yeah, it's an offshoot, but they don't break that narrative that kind of started after Endgame with Loki and all that.
Well, if you're looking at so what they had to do was they had to go, okay, he lives in this alternate take. So he lives in the Fox universe. He's not in the Disney MCU. So we got to find a way to bring him over. Easiest way to do that was the TVA. I mean, even
like I said, there are guidelines, and even the guidelines, he had like, whatever you want, just do. Make sure it doesn't break the MCU narrative for Phase 4, Phase 5, and beyond. We're still planning on same Captain America, still planning Thunderbolts, still planning all the stuff that we're planning for. Deadpool cannot break that. You could break your own world using the Fox characters we bought for $70 billion, but you cannot break the MCU. Done.
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 MB Geeks Bar and Grill sends in a $5 super chat. Thank you so very much, brother. Jesse, you're one of a kind. He says, I just put the out of time plate on my Jeep yesterday. Back to the Future is my and my wife's favorite trilogy. Thank God they won't sell those rights. No, I absolutely agree. And thank you so very much for the $5 super chat, brother. This one, where is it? Because I know exactly which one you want this morning, is just for you, Skol!
Long live the fighters!
That right there is still one of the best scenes in that whole damn movie. All them warriors.
I wanted
Knives
to
out,
bring,
bitches.
I wanted to bring my cornucopia for the skull, but I couldn't find it.
Well, I'd have to go in the other room to get my butthole popcorn bucket for noon.
Mine is like a ram's horn, like a real ram's horn cup. My brother, he's really big into, have you ever heard of the Eurovision Song Contest?
No.
Okay. There's a massive song contest that they do every year around the start of May. It's really big in Europe. It's huge in Europe, and it's huge with the gay community. It's just a song contest, just before America's Got Talent and all that stuff. Every year, the winner. There's a song coming from a country. So every year, the country that wins will host the next event in the next year. Every time it's in a different country. Usually you don't win back to back. But one of the years, Ukraine won. So the following year they hosted. My brother went there before, like the before times. Okay. The like 2014, 2012, whatever. When he got there, he went through sort of one of the gift shops and he said, well, I found something especially for you. So he got me this cornucopia where you're supposed to toast with, if they call it blood wine, like the Klingon blood wine, but it's just fortified wine. And he brought me like this ceremonial morning star. I wanted to bring it's a real ram's horn thing that they've adorned with like copper or whatever it is for the skull, but couldn't find it. It's somewhere over there with my, like the library of books that I have.
Ladies and gentlemen, look who's awake and graces us with his presence. Mexican Iron Man says Mephisto should be the official knowledge expert on matters of the gay community for Loki Morning Show.
I could. I've been surrounded all my life with the gay community. That's why I call it the gay community, not the LGBTQIA plus 277. I refuse. I tell them into their face, and they're always being like the prissier ones. I love that word. The prissier ones give me the evil eye, and the rest of them was like, yeah, it's a gay community. It's like all my life, ever since I was 12.
So going back to these movies, personal picks.
Sure. You want
favorites?
My top
20? We'll do
top 20. I just need to bring.
You don't have to do 20. We'll do like top 5 of the 80s, top 5 of the 90s. That's 10 movies.
Top 5 of
if you want to mix them, you can just do a top 10 of both. That's fine. Whatever.
Top 5 of the 80s should be Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Absolutely. That's on my list.
Ghostbusters. The original Ghostbusters. Probably Raiders, because I like Last Crusade better than the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Just a personal thing.
I'm right there with you. I'm one of those weird people. I love Raiders. I think Raiders is a great movie. I think Last Crusade is better.
I love the father-son dynamic.
Yep.
Plus, the whole arc story, I'm more attached to it. Like I know it a little bit more. So I like to go outside of my own bubble for a story, right? If you look at it as a story, some people like really believe the thing, but yeah, I look at it as a story. Plus, I love the fact that they both tie in together, because when they go down the library, down like to the sewer through the library,
Yep.
they're like they see the arc and
Yeah.
the music from
Yeah.
Ark.
Dun,
Yeah,
dun.
exactly. Like
And what is that? Is the Ark of the Covenant? Are you sure? Pretty sure.
one of my favorite lines in the entire movie. It's good. 80s. Revenge of the Nerds.
Oh, Hair Pie? Thank you.
Color of Money. Again,
Color of Money.
it's like a personal favorite of mine. Karate Kid. A lot of the 84 movies are like personal favorite.
Dude, you could do a top 20 just on the 84 movies.
I keep saying it. I've been saying it for the last couple of years. I've been dying to do like a organized show and take I think it's 84 for me is the best. I think Toxic Man Flu kind of is adamant on 82. I haven't delved into it. 82, 84, 94, 99, and 2004 or 2003 are like, if you take the whole year on the whole, even like the movies that didn't do so well in the box office, is just everything that came out, and examine the whole thing. And it's really hard to compare movies to movies, right? So it's different genres. You've got the dramas, the actions, all of it. You can categorize it through social impact, even down to what's the most memeable. So memory, memes, cultural impact, popularity, money, everything is factored in. If you factor in 1984, I think you'll be able to come out with a lot. And what actually brings it an extra level, really like a half a step in front of everybody, is how many franchises did it start? Meaning a franchise, meaning something came out and then you had a sequel, another sequel, maybe like trilogy or even more. It's like, what came out in 1984 that had 8 sequels? Do you know? Police Academy.
Oh,
1, 2,
dude.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever. I think it's 7, but don't.
I think I stopped watching after 5, whatever one that Homeboy left in.
Yeah, when Mahoney left.
Yeah,
that
when
was
Mahoney
like the
left.
last one I've actually seen that I remember, and that was in Florida.
I think
Same
that
with
was
the Revenge of the Nerds. Like they went to Florida, and it's like, okay, I'm done. It's like, I'm done. It's fine. I'm good.
But some really good movies. We got Home Alone, we got Breakfast Club, we got Uncle Buck, we've got Explorers. All these are good calls. Nerds, yeah, Revenge of the Nerds.
But to me, like the sort of like, the Princess Bride from the 80s.
So many people are like, they either hate it, absolutely hate that movie, or they love that movie. And I was at a wedding, and we're sitting there, and everybody's coming in. This is my wife's brother's wedding, and the preacher comes up. And he's a young kid, he's like in his 20s, and I'm like, okay, this is gonna be one of those like young love, da 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 da. And he gets up there and he goes, marriage. And I'm like, oh my God, he did not just do that. Marriage is what brings us together today. And everybody starts laughing. He goes, okay, now that y'all are a little bit more relaxed and not on pins and needles, we can do this thing. And I was like, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you.
That pastor is legit. Like, like religion gets a bad rap for some reason. If you've got a guy, he doesn't pester you to actually like be more faithful, blah, 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 blah. He's a guy who can marry, not pop culture, but marry the today with the faith. Then you've got a special guy. Yep. No, you don't have to bring modernity, but have some sense. Like, people are experiencing life. There's more to life than just going to church on Sunday, right? There's so much. Like, if you got a full life, you got a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And that kind of makes you into what you are as a person. If you can get a pastor, a rabbi, an imam, or whatever religion you are, and incorporate a little bit of who you are into the faith, then you've got somebody who will keep you in the faith.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I actually stole that idea from Kevin Smith, but he was correct. So have a little bit of levity. Don't lose the faith, but have a little bit of levity, because if you believe in God and God created everything, God created humor too, right? So laugh it off. Have some,
yeah.
Have a good time, and don't be somber all the time. There's time for being somber,
especially when you're in a situation where everybody's kind of like, okay, we're here and this is happening and and that immediate icebreaker is like, thank you so very much. You've got people laughing, they're relaxing, they're letting their guard down, they're here for this, emotional experience of two people getting married. Absolutely.
If you want the quintessential idea of how to do that stuff correctly, have you ever seen The Wake for Graham Chapman, the guy who died from cancer in the mid 80s in Monty Python? See, this is homework for everybody else. You especially, Loki. You know Monty Python, right?
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to be a big fan, but you know the guys, okay? So John Cleese, you know who John Cleese is, went up, and he goes up, and I'm going to ruin it, so you're going to have to see the original thing. It's on YouTube. And he's like, I'm going to be I'm gonna say hello to my best friend. He was his writing partner in Monty Python, and he's like, I was the first guy on British television that said shit live on TV. I'm gonna be the first guy in British memorial service that's gonna say fuck, and he said it, and everybody was like floored
that he said it.
And he continued on to, like, he described Graham Chapman, blah, 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 blah. And he said, it's good he's dead, the freeloading bastard. I hope he rots in hell. And everybody was laughing, because he said the guy spent his life making people laugh. All he wants other people to do after he's gone is to just have a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, I've butchered the whole speech. Go watch it on YouTube. It's so funny. It's so funny. Yeah, Goonies. There's so much stuff from the 80s that you can go back to, and like, oh, this is my favorite. Oh, that is my favorite. This is my favorite. It's like, you can't put it in like a list of 5. It's really hard to put my top 20, but most of my top 20 it's mostly 90s, I think.
And it doesn't have to be super rewatchable. This is the thing. Like, okay, I get, like, believe me, I get more than anybody. I get it. They're rewatchable. There's a reason why I have a huge collection of Blu-rays and 4Ks and DVDs and all that crap, is because I get rewatchability, but a movie can be really good. It can completely like make you think about all kinds of things you never thought about before, reason for life, blah 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 blah. And then you walk away with that experience and it's a one-time experience, and upon watching it a second time, and maybe you didn't get the same out of it, maybe you didn't get whatever, but it's still, that first experience is still there, so it has a huge impact on you.
Yeah. I feel that way with True Romance, and I get hate for it. I liked True Romance when I first saw it, and my recollection of it was like, I like this movie. And then we covered it on the show, and I was like, there's some parts in it that I like, but on the whole, it's like, I get why people like it. There are great performances in it, but I'm just, It's like either it's not for me, or I kind of lost whatever story they wanted to tell me. So it's not, it went down on the list, which is, it is what it is.
AB Geek brings up Falling Down. He said, when I was that 94, I thought he was nuts. Or when I saw that in 94, I thought he was nuts. Now in 2024, I'm like, I understand. I think a lot of us were the same way, because we were young kids and we were like, what's the big deal, man? So you got to wait 10 minutes at McDonald's. And now you pull up to McDonald's, you're like, where the hell's my food? Hurry up.
To be fair,
it's 10:25. It's not 10:30 yet. You should still be serving breakfast.
That is the scene that everybody remembers. It's way bigger than that. It's to me is like the first red pill guy. And the moment he catches himself a little bit is where he goes into the army surplus. It's not a gun store, but an army surplus in Los Angeles, which now you won't find one.
No, they're harder as hell to find in Texas too. They used to be like around the corner everywhere here, and there you just can't find them anymore.
And then he talks to the guy, and the guy seems very sympathetic, but when he takes him out the back, he's like, oh, this guy is a real Nazi. Like, I may be a little bit like awakened from this whatever thing that I was captured in, but this guy is totally nuts. And that's today. I think I made the comparison, like today, sort of like some people who are like awake from this media frenzy that we're in right now, or at least the last 6, 7, 8 years. And you're like, yeah, but I'm not a QAnon guy. So I'm not racist at all, but I'm getting accused of being one. I'm not being like a complete Yahtzee, but I'm being accused of one, and so on and so forth. And he's in that middle part where he wants to be free because he thinks he's being wronged, kind of is being like ejected from society because of he's been horrible to his wife. At work, they ejected him for work because he's no longer needed, and all that stuff. He's sort of in that limbo era where in the early 90s, that's where a lot of people were. So the old world was dying out, and we're starting to be in the high-tech world.
Jill's throwing out some zingers. She's got, Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2. She's got The Nutty Professor, Romancing the Stone, and The Jewel of the Nile.
Yeah.
All movies that you're like, what the hell are you talking about, Loki? Oh, man, good movies. Good movies.
Yeah.
My Pepe, my Chuck, my little mule. Pepe.
They won't win Oscars, but it's a fun movie. And you can slap it on and just watch for like 90 minutes and just enjoy yourself.
Hook, Theta Zord. I just got my wife to watch that for the first time at some point earlier this year. I can't remember exactly when, but she liked it. She was like, why don't they make movies like that now? I said, because they're up their own ass.
I didn't like Hook when I saw it in the theater. I think I saw it in the theater when I was a kid. I was like, I preferred like the original Peter Pan story because it's a sort of a continuation. I think it was half based on Back to Neverland, one of those books. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they've expanded, went beyond. Plus, they counted on Robin Williams to carry it through the movie. And you know what?
That's why I went and saw it, was because of Robin Williams.
Rewatching it, you know who has the best part in the entire movie?
Tinkerbell.
Dustin Hoffman.
Oh, well, Hook. Yeah, Tink got it too, though, man. Tink had, there was some great stuff she got to do. And it kind of, she talked about, I know Julia Roberts talked about how different it was because there was a whole bunch of stuff she did solo. Like, because she's in the, little house and she's talking, or she's in the playhouse, or she's in her clock tower thing, or whatever.
They cut a lot of stuff out from that movie.
Yeah.
Because they had to keep it Disney friendly.
Yep.
But not Disney friendly, but sort of Disney short, because it's marketed to young kids. So even back then, you can't let them go like 2.5 hour movie. Right.
But you could tell, you're absolutely right about Dustin Hoffman, though, because you can tell he had a lot of fun. He had a lot of fun. Smee! If you've ever been in drama, if you've ever been in, any kind of acting, getting to play a bad guy is like, to me, that's tops. That you've hit the big time if you get to play a villain. Because if you can be a good villain that people remember, then no one's ever going to get one over on you ever, because you're so good at being the bad guy that they love you for it.
Dude, the name of the movie is Hook, not Peter Pan Returns.
That's right.
Ever thought about that? That's kind of how they sold it to Dustin. Really. But it's one of those performances where the director told the actor, we're doing a kind of a play, a Broadway play, so I need you to make sure the back of the room hears you. That's sort of, where they just shout. They don't have to shout, but they do. So it makes it a memorable performance. Field of Dreams is something that is on the list to rewatch, because after James Earl Jones died, I was like, if I really think about it, it's his favorite performance. I know Vader is a thing, but it's just a voice. You don't get James Earl Jones.
Yep. And
if I look at the stuff that I've seen of his, because I'm sure I've lost a lot of stuff that I haven't seen in the 70s. That's my personal favorite performance that I've seen.
Did you see I can't remember the name of this damn movie, guys. Somebody help me. It's Robin Williams and James Earl Jones. And Robin Williams goes into this camera store or a pawn shop or something. And he's asking him about a camera. And he's like, and James Earl Jones stutters. It's this stuttering role where he's like, Fuji or Fujitsu. And Robin's like, Fuji. And James Earl Jones looks at him and goes, fuck you. And you're like, God, dude, these two working together is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. I love this. And the fact that, and James Earl Jones was just, he went beyond, he was brilliant, absolutely brilliant in everything he did. There wasn't anything he didn't do that he wasn't brilliant in.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just acting. He is not what I would call an actor. That motherfucker's a Renaissance man.
Yeah. It's so weird that he was King Jaffe in Coming to America with a big line all over his, and then he played like the lion in the Lion King. Like 5 years later, 6 years later.
I remember my friend coming over, dude, James Earl Jones in Lion King, you're gonna cry when you see it. I said, bitch, I ain't gonna cry. He's like, you're gonna cry, dude. I cried. I'm like, we're teenagers. I'm like, bullshit. No, dude, I cried.
What, Lion King?
Yeah, when Mufasa dies. And he's like, Dad. Oh, shit.
Man, that movie is 30 years old, dude.
Yeah, and they keep making remakes and stupid live action shit. And Daryl the Derelict has gifted 5 Loki's Mornings of Mischief memberships. Snowdub was gifted a membership. Shellback TJC, damn, half Cotton Connections on here, was gifted a membership. Jen was gifted a membership. P-Lie was gifted a membership. And the lady, Arwen Avalon, the lover of rainbow gummies and sparkling unicorn farts, was given a membership. Thank you, Daryl, so very much for that. And everyone that got a membership, welcome to the Viking Horde. Skol! Okay, so last part of this. Movies they can never remake. Movies that you would be like, no. No.
It's really hard because what they do mostly is remake franchises rather than standalones. Like, I don't see any studio ever doing a remake of Big Lebowski.
No.
Or Pulp Fiction, or I don't know, Fifth Element. I'm just giving you off of my list. Can you imagine somebody remakes Goodfellas?
No.
It's not a movie that they would remake, because it's, first of all, it's not a franchise, ergo it's not an IP that you can sell. So they're not going to do that. Nothing from Mel Brooks. First of all, it's parodies. You can't remake a parody. It's just going to fall flat. Parody is very much of its time. Even though we like to go back and see Blazing Saddles or Spaceballs or whatever, but those movies remind us of the movies that got parodied, right? So it's very much of its time. Scary Movie is of its time. Yeah, you can go back and see Scary Movie 4 and find somewhere to laugh at, but it's very much of its time. So we need parodies. Just parody what we've got now.
Yeah. Well, they're afraid to do that too. They're afraid to do the parodies of now, because then they're dumping on something that somebody else made. And I believe Hollywood's in this turtle shell where they're like, don't.
Something very important. Mel Brooks was in the studio system, right? But every movie he parodied, or every parody movie that he's made, he made it because he loved the stuff that he parodied. Same with the Zucker brothers, like Airplane, right? 1980s. They made a parody on disaster movies from the 70s because that they loved disaster movies from the 70s.
Yep.
And it carried on through. So everything you parody, it's not that you laugh at it. You love it so much, you find the stuff that makes you laugh in it and parody. We're waiting the next massive parody that somebody's going to greenlit is somebody that does a parody on the MCU and how woke it is, without saying, oh, it's woke, it's woke. No, don't say it's woke. Go around and around and around it. That's why good parodies work. It has comedy. It loves the source material. It has to be both of them. And then point out the stuff that could be absurd or was originally criticized, and bring that into the parody as a sort of a inside joke. and don't explain the joke. Never explain the joke. And just the next big $1 billion parody or $500 million parody is the parody that gets greenlit on the MCU.
What do you think about Vince Vaughn's interview he had? He had it's like last week, week before, where he said, you know, when we were doing Wedding Crashers, when we were doing, what's that college one with Will Ferrell? Old School. When we were doing all those movies, they just threw us the keys and said, don't go over budget and let us do whatever we wanted. Let us make, you know, whatever jokes we wanted. They were hands off. He goes, you can't do that now. They're constantly over your shoulder and they're constantly telling you what to do and they're constantly telling you what you can't do. He goes, comedy isn't what it used to be because it's like they put the training wheels back on and they won't let you go out of that comfort zone.
It comes from the idea that comedy is offensive. And if you're offensive, then you hurt people. Some people, not all the people, because someone is being joked at, right? And in the age where you cannot make a joke because it's offensive, no comedy can exist. That's why comedy and comedy podcasts are so popular, like so popular. And I don't mean Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is just the guy who brings in comedians on his, but if you go to their show, not the actual venue, I mean their podcasts, smaller podcasts, right? They're just hilarious. Whatever comedian was on Joe Rogan, you go to their podcast, and on their podcast, some of them are just flat out crazy. And that's where the comedy stays at the moment, where it's just underneath the surface, where everybody laughs, but it's like media. You can find out whatever you want on X because just people are like bird's eye view and like eyewitness and all that stuff. They're just filming the stuff and putting it out there. So underneath the surface, it's there. But if nobody has access to it, then it's sort of like going past the normies. So everyone who's invested in, I want to see good comedy. I grew up, even if you grew up like in the mid 90s, it was like, I remember my dad laughing at these stupid movies there, and he keeps complaining that there's no comedy. I'm looking for comedy. Where is it? You can find it if you really look for it. Really hard-hitting, offensive comedy, and it makes people laugh, and people are gravitating towards that. They find it they want to. But if it was on the theater, you'll see sort of like, oh, where has this been all our lives all of a sudden? And to be fair, Gen Z is getting the bad rap for the millennials, but the next generation after the Gen Zs, so the late Gen Zs and whatever age, my daughter called it age. Dad, I'm alpha. It's like, no, you're not. You're Gen Z still. It's like, no, I'm already alpha. Like, what does that mean? I'm the next. So they grew up with moms and dads in their 40s. They're like Gen Xers. And if they're open enough, like, oh, let's watch Flight of the Navigator together. Let's watch Rocky together. Like I told you this, I've watched all the Rocky films with my kids. Let's watch this together. Let's watch that together. So they grew up with parents who are like a bit more open, because us Gen Xers are a little bit more open than the boomers. And if you're willing to be offensive a little bit, then, you know, kids in their like teens, early teens, see what we saw when we were teens, when we were not supposed to see, right? And dude, my kid went through all the Deadpool movies. She's 13. I didn't mind at all to let her watch Deadpool at all, and it's supposed to be 16. She's like, Dad, this is hilarious. And it's like, yeah,
well,
it's like, it's comedy.
It's supposed to be.
It's It's not just like Ryan Reynolds in a six pack. It's comedy.
I don't think I've ever laughed as hard as I did at the end of that second movie in a theater.
In
In
the
a
second
theater, I'll
movie,
preface at the end of the movie because you have to understand something. I was very frustrated with Fox and how they dealt with stuff. I was very frustrated with DC and how they dealt with stuff in their movies. And to see him go through and be like, oh no, you know what? That Wade that got its mouth, sewed shut and got claws on his arms and all this stuff. Now I'm just going to go take him out and be like, hey, Logan, it's me. We need to do a movie together. Absolutely hilarious. When Ryan Reynolds sits down with the Green Lantern script and he's like, oh, and he opens it up and there's Deadpool to shoot him and be like, no, you're never making that movie.
you're welcome.
Absolutely.
Canada.
Yeah, you're welcome. Absolutely hilarious. All the little things he went back in and fixed. I was just laughing my absolute ass off
I
because
was in
we
the
get
theater with my brother laughing my ass off too. But I didn't like the movie on the whole. Like
no. There
Wolverine. I laughed my ass off in Deadpool Wolverine. And I went outside the theater and I was like, this. Remember, I told you when I went out of Dune Part 2, I felt like somebody punched me in the gut. And this one, I came out and was like, I really enjoyed myself. And I don't care what the hell that story was because it made no sense, but I had fun.
time.
Like, please, thank God somebody made a movie that you can, like, if you go to Siskel and Ebert, if one of them was still alive, and they would criticize the movie for being dumb and it went to the lowest common denominator. And I was like, yeah, but you said that way about a lot of movies in the 80s and 90s that today we remember them very fondly.
Well,
Like,
they would be two people that would tell you
This, ladies and gentlemen, this is a movie where you have to turn your brain off and just sit back and enjoy it. And, we had problems with it, this and that, but overall, it was an enjoyable movie. Don't you agree? Oh, I do. And I think we get a little habsy thumb.
and they'd sit there and go back and forth and talk about what they didn't like, what they did like, but that overall, it was an enjoyable experience and they had fun.
yeah, it's a 6, it's a 7. It's not like I said, doesn't have to win the Oscar every single time, but that's the Roger Corman way of making movies. Low budget, decent story. It's like not go off the rails. Decent story that makes partial sense and make it enjoyable and entertaining. Doesn't have to be fun, could be a drama, but make it enjoyable and entertaining. So the people who went out and bought a ticket, no matter what the price of the ticket is, you got your money's worth. $5, $7, $15, depending on whatever theater you're watching this in. You went to the theater, got your little tiny popcorn and a drink, and you sat around and watched an enjoyable movie, 90 minutes, 2 hours, doesn't matter. And you had a good time. And you went outside having been through an experience that either made you laugh, made you cry. You had an emotional experience of some sort. If you go outside the theater and you're annoyed that you wasted money, not annoyed because you went out like in Empire Strikes Back or Infinity Wars, like, oh, it's not that kind of annoyed within, oh, this movie was boring, or that's a waste of money. That's not good. That's really not good. If you
that was Last Jedi.
Wakanda Forever, and you went outside the theater and you're like, I could have like passed on this time. Like, no matter what the story was, if you went outside and like, it's not worth the $10. Really? And you also wasted like a couple of hours of time that you could have like sat around and fire up the PC or the PlayStation or the Xbox and just played a game. Even a stupid game. Right? It's all about that. And having, like I said, in the last year specifically, I went really deep into the weeds, and there's a lot of different connections that like made sense. And you know what? That's why horror films are really coming back like in a big way. Low budget, they're not making millions, right? But they're making double their budget, triple their budget, and they're telling a decent story, and they entertain for what they are. They entertain, they frighten you a little bit, and you move on. You just move on.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch Long Legs. Oh man.
And there's something to be said about that those are oftentimes those are the movies that we'll come back to. You know what? I'm gonna try and watch this again, or I'm gonna give this a chance, or I'm gonna was it worth going and spending? Yeah, because it's not just $10, Matt. It's like,
Yeah, I know. It's
two
parking.
people.
Yeah.
It's $10 a piece, and then you got drinks, and that's another $10 a piece, and then you got popcorn. That's $20. Any candy you get, it's another $10. So you end up paying $60-$70 just to go see a movie.
Look, dude, I went to see Deadpool Wolverine. Each ticket, if I convert the money, is almost $13 a ticket because you buy it through a website. So it's credit card and you save a seat. And not that it matters. I went in the theater. There were like almost half the theater is gone. A quarter of the theater is full, basically. Opening night. And I was like, really? Opening night? 7 p.m.? I'm expecting like a lot of kids here. A lot of mom and a child, like less than 16 for sure, or 3 friends. But I expected a full house. No. I've yet to be in a theater in the last 10 years with a full house.
Really? That's crazy.
No, you know what? One exception. Two exception. Infinity War was full.
Oh yeah.
Endgame was full. All the rest of them, maybe a quarter. Dude, I went to watch a matinee, which I didn't expect to have a lot of people watching The Flash. There was one dude that was like a neckbeard guy with a Flash shirt, fat motherfucker, and 2 other kids. And they kept talking throughout the movie.
Yeah. God help me. I hate that.
That's it.
Well, it's The Flash.
Well, yeah. But it was opening day. Opening day. And you would expect like kids would be in there. It's PG-13. It's after school. I said matinee, but it's not like 12 p.m. It's like 3:30. It's way after school, especially for that kind of a movie. And you're like, okay, I expect like 10 kids to be here. No, 2 kids, neckbeard, and the guy who wanted to review the movie. That's it.
So tell us before we get out of here, what do you have coming up? What you got going on? Tell people where. I know, right? And it's over. It's over. Go home. Go. Tell people where they can find you and watch that hilarious outro where you do like it's over.
Yeah, I love that. I need to re-record it because I lost like.
Oh well, you can tell you were a little rounder in the
a little bit here and a little bit here, right? Yeah, it's Mephistoe's movie reviews. It's if you try to like look for me, it will correct the Mephistoe in the correct way you have to write it, which bothers me. I wanted to change the name like forever. The name of the channel, but it is what it is. Mephistoe's movie reviews on YouTube. I try to do 3 reviews a week. Normally Friday I reserve for like lately I've been doing this, a new movie that I actually go and watch. But mostly older movies, like in at least 5 years, right? And on the weekend, it's the Real McCoy podcast where we just pick a movie, and just talk about it for a couple of hours. And like this show, it just ends. And every single month, we kind of have a theme for a month. We kind of love to do it where September is Guy Ritchie month. And yeah, we've got one last weekend for Guy Ritchie month, and we're gonna do Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Good movie. Good movie.
I hope she shows up. Aiden Paladin is gonna be our guest.
Ooh.
Yeah, she was supposed to be with us on Snatch, but she got sick, and she was like, I was trying to nurse it. And she ended up like, I'm sorry. I was like, got up this morning and it was like, no, it's like, it's fine. So hopefully she'll be fine this weekend. So Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels this weekend. And then next month is Spooky Month. So we've got tons of horror films.
Everybody's going to be doing horror in October.
Yeah, I know. But we're going to go. Last year we went with like comedy horror films. That was the theme. So like Killer Clowns from Outer Space, that sort of a thing. This time around, we're going to do more of the newer stuff for like 2016 and up mostly.
If you look at any of the Halloween movies that were made recently,
I've only seen Halloween Kills, which is the second of the newer trilogy, which was pretty brutal.
Oh yeah, I know. I love
it. It's the best one of the three.
It is. It absolutely is. If you listen, there was a recently released interview with the director, and he said that last movie, he goes, the studio just didn't see what I was trying to do and wouldn't let me go with what I wanted to do. So if you're
the same director that did Halloween Kills,
the same director, I think so. I think they were, and
like wasn't that good.
I know that last movie sucked, but apparently he said they never saw my vision for the final movie and wouldn't let me just make my movie. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. I don't know whether that's true or not. That was just in an interview he did, but I just read that the other day, and I was like, why would they do something like that? Why would they force him to do something like that? I don't know, because that second movie it killed. Halloween Kills. It killed.
And I'm not a horror guy, so I approach it for like first timer kind of a thing. And some of the movies that are on this month are stuff that I haven't seen before, but some of it is in the past year, I was like, you have to watch this. You have to watch this. Understand. And All My Feelings is my guide throughout this because he's a massive horror fan. So, and this year we've got even December, we're going to do horror as well because we're going December to Dismember. But because there's a lot of intersection between Christmas and horror.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be all that, and it's fun because it marries the Christmas season with another horror film. December to Dismember, it's kind of a fun little thing. So we're deep into horror in the last 3 months of the year. Yeah.
Merry Christmas, murder. If any of you guys haven't seen a movie called Santa's Sleigh with Bill Goldberg, check out Santa's Sleigh.
I don't remember if it's on the docket or not.
Because the beginning of that movie is absolutely positively one of the best beginnings to any Christmas movie I've ever seen. Fran Drescher and her whole family get taken out by Santa Claus in the first 5 minutes of that movie, and they're all like atypical Hollywood cunts. So they're all up their own ass. They're all cheating on each other. They're all Little Miss, I want Kate Spade. Blah, blah, blah. And Goldberg comes down that chimney and Santa, yeah, Fran. And he's like, yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus, and goes to work killing the entire family. So yeah, if you haven't seen Santa's Sleigh, check it out. Pops is like, Santa's sleigh is crazy. Pops didn't know about Santa's sleigh till I was like, oh, you got to watch this Christmas movie. Oh, because the first 5 minutes is just gold. Everything after that, you can take it or leave it. I don't care. But the first 5 minutes of that movie, they got their money's worth out of Fran Drescher, out of James Caan, out of that one little bastard from Saturday Night Live, and the girls. Oh, holy shit, that's funny. All right, we're going to get out of here. We have been here an hour. We always go long when you're here. We always go long. We always go extra time because... yeah, the conversation's over so quick, and it's good conversation. Guys, I'll be back later tonight on Pops. That'll be at 4:30 Central Standard Time. Until then, take care, be excellent to each other. Always speak, friend, enter, and make sure you are subscribed to Mephisto's Movie Reviews. Go, do it now! Do it now! Take care, everybody.
These videos are tremendous. Like, comment, and subscribe, and hammer that notification bell.